So it's like I'm learning more than I did when I was in high school. So my average and my grades and stuff is getting above what it usually be. So it works out good.
Good evening, and again, welcome to Captions. So glad you joined us, and so glad that you made Captions one of your weekly events. Tonight we're going to be talking about positive youth, and going to be talking with some individuals who are involved in our youth and their programs. As you can see, I have two special guests with me. I have sitting immediately to my left, Amy Sickinger, and to her left, Barbara Gordon. Ladies, welcome to Captions.
Thank you for having us.
It is my understanding that your connection with our youth here in the area is through the Boys and Girls Club. Am I correct?
Yes.
And Amy, what is your job title as far as the Boys and Girls Club?
I'm the program coordinator at the agency. I started out as a homework helper, and then I became a youth development specialist, and then eventually I was able to become the program coordinator.
Okay, and knowing all of the tasks that have to be done there, and probably the lack of a whole lot of staff, you probably wear a lot of hats, don't you? And what about you, Barbara? What is your title or role there?
My position is Program Director for Families 2000s Programs, which is a birth to 3 program. We provide services to parents who have children birth to 3.
Well, I'm so glad that the two of you joined us tonight to talk about some of the services that are available to our community through the Boys and Girls Club, and particularly some of the services that the two of you may be involved in. About how many children or youth, and basically what age, is there a younger group versus all the way up to like an 18-year-old? What is the age population of those that you serve?
Well, our program is aimed towards children 5 to 18.
5 to
so
18.
We pretty much cover any child that's enrolled in kindergarten through their senior year of high school. We work with them, and then youth that are entering into kindergarten can participate in the summer program.
Fantastic.
And Ms. Gordon, you work with?
Yes, we really work with from birth all the way through to 18, because we work with the birth through age 3, but also we work with 3 and 4-year-olds as well. So there is no gaps. Our program is seamless, I would say, because we do provide services for moms that are pregnant, all the way through to a young person that's 17, 18 years of age. So.
Well, that is fantastic. Could you give me roughly about how many youth you may come in contact with in terms of a year programming and things of that type? About how many kids do you touch?
We have over 1,500 youth that have active memberships.
Wow.
On the average year coming through our doors, we serve, I believe the latest number is over 450 that come in consistently at both of our locations. We have the location right near Glen Oak School, and then we also have the location at Harrison that's reopened with now that the construction's completed. So we're anticipating even higher numbers when this school year begins. We're expecting to see over 100 children at that location as well.
Well, that is fantastic. I'm so glad to know that you exist. And in fact, the Boys and Girls Club has been present in this community for a long time and has touched a lot of families, and particularly a lot of youth. Where do you primarily receive your funding to allow you to provide these kinds of programs? Is it my understanding that you're still connected with the United Way, or are you still with the United Way?
Yes, that school program is Boys and Girls Club's Families 2000s program, which provides a service to the parents with children birth to 3. Our funding is Illinois State Board of Education. And so we're like a lot of agencies right now waiting to get the word of whether or not we're refunded for this year. You were talking about numbers. Last year we provide services to 70 families, and in the 130 children. This year we'll probably only be able to service somewhere like 40 to 44 families and less children, and that's due to funding and different situations, but our doors are always open. We don't turn any child or any family away. We have many ways to service families if they're not directly, a part of the programming as far as being signed up. We can still provide services like our group sessions, our group connections. We have a food pantry. And then there's always a dissemination of information that we can give them, handouts and, over the phone and community activities. So.
About how many staff members do you have on this gigantic mission of working with families and kids?
Well, my department, with the programming department, we have, last payroll, there was over 41 part-time employees. That they're all youth development specialists, which means they have to go through a training before they're ever, obviously a background check and a drug test is in order, but before they're ever allowed to interact with the youth, they have to go through a pretty extensive training with me to make sure that they are really ready to engage with the children on an effective manner and really provide that mentoring role model disposition that we would find appropriate. So between all of our different locations, over 41 people that are involved on the programming end, and then the Family 2000, that's a whole separate, full-time staff.
Right, and our staffs all are full-time staff. We have 4 parent educators and then myself. And those parent educators, they go out to the community, they do personal home visits. We provide screenings for the children to make sure that developmentally that they're on point where they should be. We check with milestones to make sure that the kids are, not falling behind and there are no delays. And if there are, of course, we refer to different agencies. So there's always something to do and always a parent in crisis state. But I really like the program and enjoy the program because as a young person, I can remember that there weren't agencies like this, didn't even exist. And so now with all of the different situations and the challenges that our young families face, we're there to say we can help you.
And I'm glad to hear that. And I agree with you. I know back during your day and certainly during my day, a lot of those things didn't exist. But a lot of things were different. We have a lot of younger families in terms of parents and that type of a thing. Could you give me some examples of some of the kinds of activities or things that you do in terms of your parent education? What is it that, there's some things you could describe?
Well, as I was saying about our home visit, actually when we go for a home visit, we're in the home with the parents. We talk with the parent about their needs and try to meet them, link them with resources in the community. That's a very important part. And then as far as the children, we interact with parent and child because we have to remember that although most females are able to have children, not all know how to be, that parent that's going to raise a child that's going to be academically ready when school starts. So we go into the home and we work with those parents and make sure that the child is academically prepared, with toys, with the books, a lot of things with literacy, a lot of activities out in the community, introducing them, exposing them to new avenues and activities like the library, getting a card, a simple thing as that. There are a lot of barriers sometimes. Transportation seems to be the biggest barrier for young people. And then access. Access to care. Sometimes they have medical situations, dental situations, and once again we link them with the resources in the community. And I can't say enough about the service agencies that we work with. They're just absolutely great with those linkages and providing services.
Well, I agree with you, and I would assume based on what you just said, there's a lot of collaboration, cooperation, and support throughout the whole network of human services for our youth, as well as I've found when it comes to working with adults as well as the elderly. I personally feel that Peoria is blessed to have the width and the depth of agencies that are available for people to utilize, and that's one of the reasons that I certainly am glad that the two of you came by to let people know that the Boys and Girls Club is in existence, and you're providing a major amount of services for our youth in particular, as well as their parents. What were you getting ready to say?
Well, I was going to say that's speaking about collaborations. As a United Way agency, we're so proud to be part of United Way for that huge reason of being able to be part of that collaboration. I've over 46 partner agencies, and so it's really just that comfort to know that, well, this person, they come to us for help because they know we're a resource, but maybe it doesn't really line up with what we do. But luckily, we know exactly the person to call, and they know that that person, we can trust that that person's going to be taken care of. So it really is, I mean, it's wonderful, the support that we all are able to give each other.
Are there any volunteers that you utilize, or are you in need of resource people who may want to come and either talk to the kids or be of some
I know
value?
Amy would agree with me with this. We wouldn't even be able to function without the volunteers.
Right,
We would not be able to function from...
So you now already are using volunteers and can probably continue to use additional ones.
Especially for the component of, you know, with programming, our major focuses are tutoring and mentoring. Tutoring and mentoring. So when volunteers come in, usually if they're college students or if they're retired people, they're really interested in helping with tutoring. And that, it makes such a world of a difference that once a week if they could come in and work with a child for 20 minutes, just watching the changes. We have a wonderful woman that's been volunteering for 4 years, and she used to do group tutoring, and then this past year we changed it up and did individual. I watched this boy go from F's to D's and was happy about that. From D's, now he's up to B's, and he's so confident, and he's taking that confidence of his academic achievement in all his other subjects, and all she did was just read with him and practice writing with him. And I mean, it's unbelievable the impact that an hour of somebody's time consistently can make.
I agree with you. So many of our youth need love, they need encouragement, they need attention. And unfortunately, they may not get it at home, but that does not mean that they cannot get it in their life, because we have a community of individuals as well as agencies. And I tell you, I get so turned off when people talk about, I'm bored and I don't have nothing to do. There are so many places where people can interface. If it's no more, as you say, an hour a week or 2 hours a week or more, that they can really share their life experiences or their knowledge or their skills with, and particularly youth, because our youth are in the building blocks of their lives, and they need somebody to help stack those blocks in a straight way, because there's always somebody on the street corner that's going to try to convince them, hey, you don't have to do that. I've got a way you can really make some real money and that type of thing. So we need people on the other side to encourage the kids to stay in school, to do the best they can in school, to help them do the best in school.
And even if
tutoring.
They don't feel that, maybe they don't feel that, well, I wouldn't really be well qualified, you'd be really surprised. I mean, even if your reading level isn't the greatest, but if you could work with a kindergartner, I mean, that may be all they need. And I think something that me and Ms. Gordon, we really have always shared is the kids that are missing some attention and love and academic support, it might not be that the parents are negligent or they don't care. Oftentimes, parents come to me and say, Amy, my child needs help, and I don't know how to help them, so what can we do? They do care, but maybe they didn't have that support. And so when they turn to us, it's the best feeling in the world to say, you know what, I have a volunteer that is really interested in helping out your child.
And parents are busy. Some parents work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And exactly what Amy is saying. Sometimes when I'm going down the hall and I'll see her giving one of the kids a hug, or and to hear them use their manners, and then for Amy just to say, like, you know, I'm so glad to hear you say thank you, and you know, to just to validate that. You know, when they're doing something well. Sometimes it's not something big that's needed. Just saying well done, or acknowledging. Manners.
Sometimes just an attaboy.
I
mean, whether you know chemistry, whether you know English, whether you know history, in terms of your being able to help a kid, sometimes just saying, hey, how did you do in school today? And if they say, hey, I got a B or an A, say, attaboy. And give them a little reward. Say, hey, let's go down to Dairy Queen or go somewhere and get a hamburger. just those little slight things can make a big difference in terms of youth and their expectations. And sometimes just raising their expectations by saying, hey, you know, I want to see an improvement, or I know you can do it, and that type of a thing. Because, you know, if you don't have high expectations of kids, they sometimes don't expect much. But when you encourage them and then reward them, as I said, if it's no more than attaboy, or hey, let's go to a ball game, let's celebrate the fact that you almost made the honor roll, or you did make the honor roll, or whatever, to encourage them. And we need to give the same kind of encouragement to our youth who are non-athletes. Now, the athletes make the newspaper, they scored 23 points, or they got 3 touchdowns and so forth. But the majority of our kids aren't athletic, but they need the same kind of enforcement or reinforcement of people. And as I said, if a volunteer just stopped by to say, hey, how are we coming today, or what's going on with you?
Just knowing that somebody is watching. That's what I find. If I'll say, well, you got to see, that's okay, but I know that you could get a B. They just the fact, well, I guess it matters because Miss Amy's going to look at my report card.
Right.
I guess it matters because somebody's going to talk to me about it. Because if that conversation never happens, what is the significance? It was this letter, now it's this letter, who cares? But if an adult is consistently involved, I mean, like you said, all it takes is having a conversation about it, and to be able to go the next step and say, you know what, I'm really proud of your achievement, here's a reward. I mean, that could really radically change a child's whole perspective on their own direction and what they're doing.
And just to know that somebody cares.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times what keeps us on the right path of life is we don't want to disappoint somebody. And if we know that Miss Brooks is going to be disappointed if I don't do well or whatever, that makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
I feel the same way with adults. Some people don't break the law
That's
because...
what I was going to say, and we know that exactly the same way. Our young parents are the same way. They want to be validated that, you know, they don't know a certain thing, but they're going to ask the question.
Right.
And it's your attitude of whether or not they're going to come back again. So.
Well, and they learn something from, you know, your case managers, and then when they implement it the next time they see them.
And then you validate that and say, you know, they start to use the language. And that's just so beautiful.
Right.
You know, the terminology, and say things, and then they want to start thinking about their goals, and they start meeting their goals. And then you see them create new goals. Right. And they achieve those. And just to see a parent just, you know, connecting the dots.
Well, I tell you,
connecting the dots.
I can feel the love and the affection that the two of you have in terms of what you're doing and the people that you're working with, and particularly the youth. By the way, Amy, how long have you been with the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, I've been with the agency, I believe it's 4 years now.
4 years, okay.
But I've been in this current position since May of 2010. Okay. So just over a year. But yeah, our passion and our love for, I mean, I think that's what leads us.
And you better throw in that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I can detect it just in watching you and hearing. But Barbara, how long have you been with the Boys and Girls Club?
I've been with the Boys and Girls Clubs for 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
And it's still energetic.
Yes, and still there. They keep me young and keep me going. Just to see that person's smile on their face, and to know that at the end of the day that you help someone.
Right. And it takes that to be successful in the kinds of positions that you're in. Having been a high school teacher as well as a principal, it takes that same kind of energy and love for who you're working with and what you're doing to really make a difference, because the kids in particular can pick that up, and it's important that the parents pick that up, that you have, first of all, an interest in their children. And unfortunately, some parents don't have a whole lot of support, either from their mother or their mother-in-law or their relatives. And to know that there are individuals like yourself who have shown some interest in them and helping them to reach their full potential, and helping them to be in a position to helping their children reach their full position. As I often say, it's too bad kids come from sex, because most of the time when people are involved in sex, it's no more than a few minutes or an hour, but you end up maybe with a life of responsibility. And you know, most of us aren't ready to assume that. But when you have individuals like yourself who can come in and assist them in developing into a real father and a real mother and help them to understand what their responsibilities, as well as to hook them up with resources to help them to be the moms and the dads that we can be with the support of others, in particular programs like yours.
That's something that I think we are especially proud of, is that parents really, sometimes I think there's a disconnect between maybe a school and the parents. Sometimes the parents will say, like, it's a parent versus a teacher situation, but it's really great for us that we're all in it together, and there's nothing that makes me more proud and satisfied when then a parent makes themselves vulnerable enough to come forth and say, this is something we're going through. And like you said, a lot of them don't have a support system that's going to support and encourage them. So when they know that they have a whole agency that can, you know, our roof just collapsed, what can we do, where can we go, and I had a family emergency and there's nobody to watch my child, what can I do? I always just, I'm like, I'm so happy that we're here, because who knows what would have happened if we weren't. It makes us so happy that there's a mutual trust between.
And when they come back and say, thank you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I know last year, one day I was just at my desk and a parent showed up with one single rose and a bag of McDonald's to tell me thank you. Now, of course, I didn't need the McDonald's, but, you know, of course, but they wanted to say thank you. They had gone to court and they had received their fitness back. And it's just things like that.
Well, to me, these are the win-win situations. These are the stories. And as you say, many of your funds come from the United Way, and this is what the United Way is all about. And I would encourage people to give to the United Way.
Support the United
and if
Way,
you can't afford to give them your money, as you say, give them your time. And if it's no more than a few hours a week or whatever, they can make a difference, and that's what life is all about.
They can come and
it's
listen
not
to
about
a child
living.
read even.
Right.
Absolutely. I want to thank, first of all, the two of you for coming, Amy and Barbara, and sharing the story of Boys and Girls Club, of which we have a number of agencies that have a number of programs. And as I said, the purpose of Captions is to educate you, to motivate you, to participate. Go support the Boys and Girls Club or any program of your choosing. Don't sit around talking about there's nothing to do. There's so much that you can do. We're going to be taking a break, but we're going to be coming back with another informative portion of the show. And again, ladies, thank you for being on Captions. I want to extend to you an invitation. Come back anytime that you want to share what you need to tell the community, or to ask the community to share their time or resources with you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thank you so much.